Welcome, everybody. My name is Deirdre Caren, as you can see, and I'm very delighted to invite Jonathan Mast to our session today. It's going to be a great session talking about customer experience, talking about marketing, talking about some really important questions we have around architecting AI, as well as what does AI look like in the future for the roles. So welcome to our inner circle. A little bit about what we're doing today. So the AI Business Catalyst podcast runs till the end of the year with a mid-year break, and we run it fortnightly, so every 2 weeks. So we're going to have approximately 20 speakers over the year, and it will continue to be shared across all of our platforms. So firstly, let's meet up with Omar Gawad. He helps organizations shape their digital strategy and transformation capabilities. He's passionate about trusted business solutions, emerging technologies, and continuous learning. He thrives on creating impact-driven strategies. That was not intended, and enhances businesses' everyday lives. Additionally, he shares insights and expertise through the LinkedIn newsletter, Analyst Architect. He also has a YouTube channel that he streams from, where he explores topics related to digital transformation and technology trends. And then we have Alain Picard. Alain is the Chief Architect and CTO at Aiden.ai. He leverages artificial intelligence to transform enterprises, a distinguished programmer and technology visionary. He designs innovative solutions tailored to client needs. As the founder of Iris Business Architect, he enhances business architecture practices and streamlines project delivery, establishing himself as a leader in cutting-edge AI development. And yes, like I always say, he's a really good programmer. It's not just saying. Okay, a little bit about me. So I'm Deirdre Caren. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Aiden.ai. I do believe that artificial intelligence will be essential in the future of business transformation, which is why we talk a lot about architecting and AI. I focus on unlocking business full potential with generative AI, tailoring training and architecture. I've also started a company called Agora Insights, and I've been running it since 2017. And we have been training and consulting business architects and business analysts, thousands of them, over 90 countries. So that's a little bit about me. So our guest today, Jonathan Mast. So Jonathan is an AI consultant and coach dedicated to empowering businesses and professionals to unlock the full potential of artificial intelligence. His coaching services focus on AI prompting mastery, equipping clients with the skills to craft effective prompts for AI language models, whereby working with entrepreneurs, professionals and business leaders. Jonathan's guidance and tools are essential for thriving in the AI-driven world. I hope that covers it enough, Jonathan, but you're welcome to add anything else that you feel we might have left out in a short snippet.
I think you did amazing. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Good. So just a brief overview of what we're doing in episode 3. So our theme this week is Customer-Centricity with AI. And what is AI and how does it look for our customers? So let me stop sharing the screen and I will hand over to Omar.
Thank you, Deirdre, for the introduction. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Jonathan. Just to set the stage for today's conversation, let's discuss first what customer centricity really means. That customer centricity has always been about putting the customer at the heart of the business decisions. But the real definition of putting the customer first has entered a new phase shaped by AI nowadays. So from your experience, how would you define customer experience or customer centricity before and after AI era?
I think from my perspective, the real value that we're bringing in is the ability for businesses to better understand their clients and to make sure that everything they're doing is a better fit or a better connection, or possibly just better identify who the right clients are so that they're spending the time working with the proper audiences in general. And AI has so much knowledge because it's been trained on essentially every book in every library and bunches of reports and everything else, that it tends to have very good insights into who those different clients may be, those different audiences may be. And with the advent of deep research, which just came out recently, I think it's even provided additional capabilities because of the abilities to go out and literally scour the web and grab the most up-to-date information about trends and then analyze those to determine how we can best create that customer-centric organization.
And how different is it from before? So let's talk a little bit around how is AI redefining that customer experience and what does it look like? So for instance, if we looked at what customer experience meant, let's say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, customer experience was all about having time with people, being able to trust the product, being able to trust what's going on. But as businesses now are expecting information at speed, straight away to have the results, those kind of things, how is AI changing that? So what does that mean? And customers may want a brand experience that is very specific to their needs. So what would that look like in terms of AI?
Good question. I actually don't think the overall focus is changing tremendously. I think we have much better tools, though, and the ability, as you were just mentioning, Deirdre, to really personalize our experience for our clients because of AI. We have, for the first time, certainly in my life, we have the ability to take a general experience that we've designed for a client and to customize that almost on the fly, to be able to adjust the way we're communicating about things, possibly depending on what we're doing, even the experience that they have through that. I don't think that things like trust and all that are changing. In fact, I think trust is becoming even more important in the AI arena because of the fact that there's more content out there. We have more businesses talking about more things, and let's face it, some of it's not very trustworthy. And so I think trust is actually more important now than it used to be. But I also think we have the ability then to create those more personalized experiences because we have more data and we have that ability to literally on the fly. For example, let's say we're in creating an onboarding process for a new client. In the past, we had an onboarding process and we followed that onboarding process step by step, and that was great. But if the customer, maybe I'll use myself, I'm a sales and marketing background, we might be talking to an engineer that's another background, what we might expect just based on those two aspects of her personality would be quite different. AI now gives us the ability to go, okay, Jonathan, we're onboarding Jonathan, and Jonathan is a sales and marketing guy versus we're onboarding, Omar, and Omar's an engineering type or a programmer type. And sorry, Omar, I'm just picking you because you're on the screen. And we can then say, okay, here is our standard onboarding. But now based upon Jonathan's background and Omar's background, we need to customize the emails that we're sending. We need to customize the calls that our team is going to have with them. We need to customize our onboarding experience to resonate specifically with Jonathan and with Omar based upon that. And in the past, while in theory we could have done that, that meant a myriad of choices that were really difficult for teams to follow. Now with AI, that can literally be done on the fly. So if I'm the project manager and onboarding somebody for a new project, I don't have to pull out and figure out what to do. I can literally go, okay, through my CRM, this is Jonathan and this is Jonathan's background. I now need to send that welcome email, and AI can take my standard company email and make it relevant and personalized to Jonathan or to Omar, and it will be the same context, but it'll be presented differently using different words, and it will resonate with each one of those audiences differently as a result of that. And I think that's just one very small slice of how AI can dynamically do things that we've never really even thought of before to create a better user experience. But I want to center on, I don't think the core that you talked about, Dieter, great stuff, by the way, that you talked about, the trust in that. I actually don't think any of that's going away. If anything, I think those things are becoming more important than what they used to be.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't want to be talking to a robot, right? The call center's famous for this. They,
Oh, yes.
you know, all of these, here's the process you follow. And at the end of the day, the person always pushes the exceptions button and ends up with a call center. So I am aware that it's far more smart. It can sound and respond as if it was human. But yeah, I think people knowing that it exists are wary,
Mhm.
just even normal person phones or does a sales call or something like that might be skeptical as, is this AI or is this an actual person? How do I tell the difference between the two?
I think you bring up an interesting point. I think as businesses, we need to take a very clear look and understand what is our objective at each step in the process. I hear from many businesses that go, great, I can replace my sales team with AI. Not likely, because again, it's not going to be able to build that trust.
Mm.
Now, are there certain functions? Yeah, if it's 2 in the morning and I need customer support and I can get that from an AI bot, I'm probably going to be really happy because I can get it checked off and off my screen. But as a user and even as a company, we need to give our clients the opportunity to choose what type of interface that they want. And I think one of the biggest mistakes businesses often make is they put an AI bot or agent in between the company and the customer, and they don't disclose what they're doing. And then that erodes all of that trust that we were talking about, Deidre, because now even if I've built it up, I feel as a customer, oh, you just tried to pull something on me and not tell me. It'd be far better to give me that option, let's say in a customer service experience, to go, our offices are closed right now, but we'd love to help you out. In fact, we have an AI agent that's able to work with you right now if you'd like, or you can press 2 to leave a message and our team will follow up with you tomorrow.
Mm.
That type of an option to me is doing exactly what we're talking about because we're meeting the client where they're at and we're allowing our customers to make the decision that resonates with them. I'm probably going to choose to try that AI agent and see if it works. The benefit of that AI agent over, let's say, a potential global team in a call center, like you were mentioning, is that we're likely to get more consistency, and we're also likely not to run into just the language barriers that we so often run into when we're talking to global teams. The simple thing of just accents based on the region of the world that call center may be located in can create a negative or a positive experience for our customer. AI has the ability to speak 140 plus languages on the fly. And I'm not sure the exact number, but essentially vast majority of them. So whether I'm speaking English or French or Spanish or German or a myriad of other languages or even dialects, AI has the ability to communicate more effectively with me in many cases. And the voice agents are incredible what they're capable of doing. But again, I think the key for businesses, and especially for people listening today, we need to be transparent with our customers about what options we're giving them, because that again goes back to the trust and creating more trust for our customers. I do think our customers are going to begin to expect that, though, especially this year in 2025. Customers are going to know that AI agents are available and they're going to expect that's there that they can take advantage of. And I think we're going to start seeing frustration with customers when we don't provide them with those options, whether they choose them all the time or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit, Jonathan, the role of AI personas in the customer engagement to really drive those interactions that feel more human, that a bit as a follow-up to what you were just talking about, and also look at the alignment with the branded identity for our companies?
Two really important things, and they overlap there. But as we're taking a look at that, Elaine, we want to make sure that we're training the AI models to reflect our company brand, our company tone, our company style. Every company has a different style or different tone that they use. And our customers often become familiar with that. And so it's important we don't necessarily just say, let's take the default AI setting and have it work, because it's likely to use words and phrases and even try to achieve goals that may not be what we as a company want to have done. So that training process is really critical to make sure that the AI model reflects who we are as a company and can meet our clients where they're at. The good news is AI models are very trainable. And so there's no need to deal with the default persona per se. We can create that company persona. And the neat thing there is, as you referred to, Elaine, in addition to one persona, we can have multiple personas that can be targeted for different users, again, based on where they're at. So we may, for example, something as simple, determine that a man and a woman need a slightly different persona talking to them. We may not. I'm just trying to pick an example. And the company can have multiple personas then that are able to speak to that customer in a way that best resonates with them.
Yeah, like the one for the marketers versus the engineer versus.
Yeah, that's a better example. So yeah, I as a sales and marketing guy probably have less desire for great levels of detail as compared to an engineer or a programmer who might want tremendous levels of detail. And the ability of that AI to have the right persona to comprehend and understand that and go, okay, my persona is quick information overview, but only going into detail if somebody asks, for the sales and marketing guy, as opposed to I'm talking to an engineer, I need to give a higher level of detail up front because I know that's what that personality is looking for to better meet them. And so those are the personas that I think of when we're putting together these agents to make sure that those personas, again, match our clients in a way that makes them feel known, I guess, loved for no other reason. They want to feel that tender, loving care coming from us in one way or another. And if we can meet them where they're at, we're going to do a better job of that.
And you talked earlier about trust. And so how can those persona really help to build trust with our clients?
I think more than anything else, through consistency and through the ability that the AI has to not get frustrated. So anytime we're dealing in let's say a customer support issue or a customer onboarding, one of the downsides we have as humans is that when we do something repeatedly, ask the same questions, go through the same processes, we end up having the belief that, boy, we really need to change this up because people are getting sick of hearing it. The reality is people likely aren't getting sick of it, but we're getting sick of it because we're saying the same questions all the time and we're going through the same process. One of the big benefits of AI is AI doesn't get bored. So it doesn't get that those rudimentary tasks can be done and or consistent methodologies can be followed because the AI doesn't go, well, man, this is my third meeting today asking these questions. I got to change it up here because it's driving me nuts. AI doesn't do that. We as humans do that, and I do that, absolutely, but AI doesn't, and that allows us to yeah, and not everybody does. I'm a sales and marketing guy, so I'm a little different. The other thing, I just talked to an interesting fellow the other day, and they're actually designing AI models to help dementia patients. And we were chatting through that process. And one of the things he shared with me really fits into this, and I want to share it, is that one of the benefits that the AI models have in working with dementia patients is the fact that they never get frustrated from being asked the same question over and over. And if you have any familiarity with dementia, one of the things that many dementia patients do is they'll ask a question or three, and then a few minutes will go by and they'll ask the exact same questions because they don't have the memory that they just did that. And as humans, it's natural. After the fourth or fifth time, many times we're starting to get a little frustrated, even if it's a loved one, because we've already answered this. AI models don't do that. They can be
I've been through that with my father, so I know what that is. And you get the same.
So I think there's unique
every
opportunities there. Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Let's shift gears into the digital space a little bit. You know that customers nowadays interact with brands across several platforms, and they are expecting the same seamless and personalized experience each time across each platform. And I believe that there's where AI can take things to the whole new level. From your perspective, what are the key elements that define a customer-centric online presence? And can AI help in enhancing the engagement across these digital platforms?
Yeah, I think first, what are some of the key things? I think AI can absolutely enhance that process through a couple different things. First of all, as we were talking earlier, Omar, because of the ability of AI to better segment our audiences and our customers, it can create a more personalized experience. But even more than that, AI can analyze vast amounts of data and do it very quickly. So we have the ability now to, in real time or virtual real time, to analyze those conversations that we're having and those interactions that we're having. And then based upon customer feedback, based on what we call sentiment analysis and trying to understand what was the overall, how did the customer feel in that process? We can then adjust parameters literally dynamically and on the fly to change the way that those AI agents are responding. Hypothetically, let's say that the AI agent is trained to answer any questions, and if not, schedule an appointment for that customer to talk to a human. If we identify through the process that something that we're doing in there, we're either taking too long to offer that human connection, or maybe we're going about it the wrong way, AI can analyze the sentiment and get the frustration that's happening from those customers, those callers, and we can set a number, let's say after 10 calls, 20 calls, 50 calls, whatever. If it determines the trend, it can literally then dynamically say, okay, we're now going to change the way that we're doing this based upon the feedback that we've gotten over the last 50 calls. And that's something that, yes, we can do as humans as well, but the reality is we're not going to do it after 50 calls or probably even 500 calls. We're going to wait until somebody's gotten mad enough to pick up the phone and call somebody in the management suite and be frustrated with what's happening to get that attention. Now we have the ability to really have a much better pulse on our clients and understand that, because the reality is, if we wait, as we often have to, for someone to reach out to us and express the frustration, we've probably lost a number of other customers who weren't willing to take that step. And AI gives us that ability in those interactions to be much more dynamic and, again, responsive to our clients and how we do that. So I hope I'm answering your question on that, Omar.
Yeah, it's very clear, but can you elaborate more about the elements that can define, I can't judge that this brand is providing a customer-centric online presence across different platforms and so on and so forth?
I think, again, as a customer that's going to judge that, it's going to depend on what they're seeing that's coming from that brand. And again, I think one of the benefits of AI is that ability to segment so that we can get different messages to different customer bases based upon what they're interested in. That can include just starting right at the marketing phase by ad targeting, as we're targeting different audiences with our advertising, knowing that, again, as a sales and marketing person, I may need a different ad to respond as what Alain may need, just because of Alain's a great programmer. He's going to be more detail oriented than I'm going to be as a sales and marketing guy. That's just, and Alain, I don't know you well, but that's my guess, and I'm betting that's overall going to be accurate for us. And as a result, if it knows that, and it's and the same brand, Alain and I both need to buy new shoes, for example, and we may both be looking at the same brand to do that, or we both need vehicles and maybe looking at the same brand. But the way in which that brand identifies us and then targets us and then communicates with us because of our different personalities is how I, as a customer, am going to see that consistency. And we now have the ability to do that, again, across multiple platforms, both because of AI, but also just because of the targeting capabilities we have through advertising and things like that. So I think it's not just AI that's being dynamic and changing this. It's a combination of AI working with other technologies and tools that we have available. The real difference to me is that AI can now analyze and do data analysis in almost real time, as opposed to where we're at, okay, we're going to do a monthly meeting and we're going to review our data and see what happened. That could literally be happening every 5 or 10 minutes with AI.
That's great. Now, we spoke a little bit around the right balance between AI and automation and customer engagement. And I see that Johan has asked a question here, which is around how can AI create kind of the personas that we are looking at? So when we look at automation and that, instead of just talking about the characteristic of, let's say, the AI, but how can it give us a broader sense of who the customer is and teach the business something about their customers? So I've gone a little unscripted here, but it's basically
okay.
So looking at how can AI help us understand our customers better rather than just what it's doing for our customers.
As odd as it sounds, it's really a matter of just asking the AI for that information. And it's going, okay, I'll use myself. So my average client is a business owner, typically between the ages of 35 and 65. I know from my statistics, it's about 64% male. And based upon that, I can then ask AI to say, okay, given these characteristics that I do know about my customers, and that how can you help me better understand them? How can you help me better uncover maybe opportunities that exist where they're not getting the type of service they want in general or possibly from us? And how can we then design methodologies to either communicate with them or create products and services that fill those needs based upon the data that we've got? And it really, again, boils back, I think, Deirdre, to the overall value of the data analysis and the ability of AI to analyze vast amounts of data very quickly.
That's great. Thank you.
Obviously, things don't happen overnight. So what is the main challenges that businesses are facing when implementing AI for customer engagement? And obviously, what are some of the things they can do to overcome all of that?
I think the biggest challenge tends to be in trying to bite off too much at one point in time, or believing that it has to be very complex in order to be effective. I'm a big proponent of identifying tasks and things within the organization that are done repeatedly, that we know we need to do, but maybe we don't particularly enjoy doing. Maybe it's analyzing particular reports or things like that. And then beginning by implementing AI in a step-by-step process. So let's not begin by, as I mentioned, replacing our entire sales team with AI bots. Let's begin by identifying tasks in that customer engagement process that our staff doesn't particularly love doing, but has to do on a regular basis and are important. And let's offload those individual tasks to AI, and let's build dependence slowly versus in one fell swoop. Let's not try to replace everything. Let's build it like building blocks. Let's bring in AI in. And every time we do that and have a success, not only is that good for our customers, but it's also good for our company and it's good for our team, because we're building that confidence as we go along. If we come in and we try to do a wholesale replacement of a department or of specific tasks, I find that oftentimes that's when the projects fail and people look back and go, that AI stuff didn't work. And it's because they simply tried to do too much at one point in time.
So would you recommend internally facing initiative first versus externally facing directly with AI facing the customers? Because you mentioned some reports and
yeah, I definitely think if you're not doing a tremendous amount of AI work right now, you're trying to figure out how do I implement it into my business. I think some of the best ways to do are to look at some of those internal options, because it's important to remember AI can make mistakes too, especially if it's not trained properly and things like that. And it's almost like the first time I rode a bike, I crashed. I didn't necessarily manage to pull it off the first time, but I had that desire because my friends were riding their bikes to get up and try it again. And I think in the business world, it's very similar. We need to start with easy, manageable projects, create some quick wins, proverbially ride my bike down the sidewalk for 30 feet without falling, as opposed to let's enter a bike race our first day out. And I think too many businesses try to take that perspective of, all right, let's do everything and do it right now. And as a result, they bite off too big of a thing and they just simply can't implement it well, because there will be falters and stumbles as we implement. Just expect it. That will happen. And that's okay. We can overcome those. But if we implement something too globally or too widely, those falters that happen can often then cause that entire project to fail.
So starting internally would help actually learn where those issues might come and have less impact to the customers, and while you're learning the ropes.
I think it's a great strategy. And again, I think one that again mitigates the risk to the company, because again, we don't want to take those clients that we've worked so hard to get and then find out that we're going to somehow lose them because we made a misstep. And yeah, I think, Alain, you're absolutely right. We want to pull those internal things first, get our feet wet, get to the point where we're ready to take the training wheels off the bike, and then start implementing things in the same way, though, one step at a time with our customers, as opposed to replacing an entire system. I've heard way too many horror stories of people that have replaced, for example, customer service departments with AI first, meaning the only way to get to a human was after going through AI. And one of the most famous stories I know of is Air Canada, that somebody called in regarding a bereavement flight that they wanted, and the AI decided to give them a free ticket for bereavement flight because it seemed like the thing that would be right to do. That wasn't in accordance with Air Canada's policy. And then when they saw that, they said, we can't do that. That's not our policy. Understandably, the person that needed the bereavement flight was really upset because their systems at Air Canada had told the person that they were going to do it. And at that point, the person doesn't care whether it's AI or not. And I don't remember how all that worked out, but I hope Air Canada was smart enough to go, look, we'll give you a free flight and we're going to pull the AI down until we fix it. But those are some of the dangers that can happen if we implement too fast and too quickly.
My question is, based on everything you've said, as a sales and marketing exec, what would be your first thing you'd focus on?
Great question. I think, Deirdre, the first thing I would want to do is I would want to figure out how can we move deals forward more quickly as a sales and marketing exec. What can we do with those prospects that we're already working with to figure out, one, is my sales team being accurate on what's happening? And we can do that by having AI analyze the sales calls that they've had, analyze notes in the CRM, analyze lots of different data to help me determine which of these prospects are most likely to close this month. As we're recording this at the end of March, maybe we're trying to get our March numbers to look great. We've got a few days to do that. I would immediately be leveraging AI to take a look at my pipeline and understand which of these prospects are most likely to close. Not necessarily just trusting my sales team to do that, but using AI to help. I'd also use it to help monitor for training interactions, to make sure that as my team is talking to customers, that I'm getting real-time reports, not finding out a month later that maybe a rep had a bad day or has got a bad attitude about something, but understanding that day that, okay, hang on, we need to adjust something here. Or maybe the way that we're pitching a product in some of our marketing isn't resonating with people. And we can, again, analyze that data very quickly. And based on that sentiment analysis, go, okay, every time we talk about this feature, do you notice the call tends to sour the caller, our prospect has a different attitude? We can identify those things so much faster to, again, create dynamic ways that we can win as a company, as opposed to relying on those monthly, quarterly, or sometimes never happening meetings, because we simply don't have time to analyze all that data without AI.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan, for these rich insights, I would say. From your experience, can you share with us an example of an organization that successfully implemented AI for customer engagement?
I think there have been a number of them out there. I don't have a specific one to be able to say, let's look at this one agency or one company as an example. But the ones where I found the best experience with, and that I'm consistently seeing that, again, I'll go back to what I talked about earlier, are those agencies, I keep saying agencies, the companies that are implementing AI in that customer-facing role, but are then giving the customer the choice. What studies have shown us consistently is that if we give the customer a choice on whether to work with AI or to whether work with a human, especially if there's a delay in working with the human due to just capacity issues in that, many people will choose to work with the AI. That doesn't surprise me. The part that surprised me, and I think is really important to remember, is that when an individual selects to work with an AI-based agent and they know they're doing that, the level of success working with that agent tends to go up substantially. And it's basically because their expectations are being set properly. So instead of putting that off as a human, that now we're going to say, okay, here, talk to our agent. We're just not going to tell you it's an AI agent. That can make just a tremendous difference in allowing that customer to make that decision. Unfortunately, no, I don't have a specific to say, hey, this is what American Honda's done or somebody like that. But of everything we see, the key part is letting the customer make that choice based on availability as to what they want to do. We as customers generally don't like to be told what to do. I think that applies to pretty much all of us. And so when we're given options, in a way, it's given an option to a 3-year-old when you're going outside, going, okay, it's cold outside, you need to wear a jacket. But we don't ask our 3-year-old, do you want to wear a jacket? We show them 2 jackets and say, which one would you like to wear? Or we say, if you've got 1 jacket, would you like me to zip it up or would you like to zip it up? And in the customer experience, I think we do the same. We need to do the same type of thing as it comes to AI, not force them into an AI mode, but give them the options. Would you like to wait for a human? Approximate wait time is 10 to 12 minutes. Or would you like to talk to an AI agent 5 seconds? Which would you do? And when we give those types of options, I think we create a much better customer experience, even if the customer decides to wait 12 minutes, because they know they had the option to do something different.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Fair enough. But you earlier mentioned some factors for a successful implementation. Let's say something related to the iterative implementations, being able to implement building blocks or build small blocks together, then go for a specific solution. Do you have other success factors that you would like to add up to these points?
Good question. I think the one of the other big success factors there is making sure that you get the buy-in of your team. So often as leadership in a company, we decide that we're going to do this. Obviously, it's our choice. I'm not saying it's the team's choice to do that, but our team can make that project fail very quickly if they're not on board with it. And the reality is that nowadays, depending on where we're at, a lot of team members are concerned that if they embrace AI, they may end up not having a job a year from now. And so one of the first things we need to do if we're bringing AI into an organization is we need to accept that there may be some people that are displaced by that AI, and we need to handle that and address that. But we also need to let our teams know how we're planning on using those tools and how if they embrace those tools, they can add more value to the organization, because AI in and of itself can't run a company. AI in and of itself can't run your sales team. It needs humans. It amplifies skill and experience. And so I think the other critical success factor from my perspective, Omar, is making sure that your team knows that you absolutely understand that there may be some displacement, but that the people that embrace the AI are the ones that are ultimately going to add more value, probably make more money, and are going to be there to be leveraged to have AI to help them do more.
Great. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
And Jonathan, in designing those solutions, those customer experiences, how can businesses make sure that those are ethical and transparent, and while also maintaining customer confidence, obviously?
Yeah, I honestly believe transparency is the biggest thing there, Alain. I think we need to be transparent about what we're doing and can maintain that transparency with our customers. Obviously, there's some things we may not or cannot share, and I understand that. But when it comes to experience, I think for the most part, it's a rare circumstance in which we can't at least explain to the customer what this process is going to look like, so we're setting their expectation as they go through that. I think that's the key thing there.
Okay. And anything specific about ethical grounding of our AI solutions here?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding me on that. So I'm a bit of a contrarian when it comes to AI ethics, and that's that I don't believe in AI ethics. I believe in business ethics. And I think if we are running our business ethically, now, does AI occasionally bring up things where our business ethics are called into question and we need to validate and follow a protocol? Absolutely. But I'm not a person that believes that AI has its own set of ethics that we need to deal with. Again, part of that is just because I don't see in business, if you're an ethical business person, I don't see how AI is going to cause you to all of a sudden be an unethical AI business person. If you're not a very ethical business person, can you use AI in unethical ways? Absolutely, you can. AI is simply a tool, but I do think it's important that we probably do some education, Alain, inside of the organization to let them know what's acceptable and not, because we may find, and our team may find that, hey, you know what, I could do this and solve a problem. Gosh, we won't tell anybody about it. When we go, look, that's not the right thing to do, whether we had AI or not. So I hope that makes sense in that delineation.
Or is it actually more of an upstream concern when you're doing the training to make sure that your own business ethics are reflected in your AI agents.
Yeah.
Most of the agents are not going to do things that we as humans would consider to be unethical. They will absolutely, though, do something that we refer to as hallucinating. In other words, they'll make stuff up. And so that's another area where training is so important. Just as we wouldn't want somebody on our customer service team making up things out of thin air to tell our clients in order to appease them, we want to make sure that we've trained the AI models, and I think this is what you're referring to, Alain, to make sure that those models are trained, that their decisions need to be based on specific data points, specific guidelines that they've been given, and they need to stay within those guidelines as they're interacting with our customers if we're using agents.
Johan, I just wanted to say, if you felt like asking this question directly, which is related to what Alain and Jonathan are speaking about, you can do that, or do you want me to cite it?
That's fine. I can quickly ask. So I'm just thinking, Jonathan, just based on what you're saying, is because we basically need to develop some kind of litmus test when we are looking critically at how AI agents are acting as actors within our business. And what came to mind for me is that if I asked myself, if I had exactly the same information and the time available to me, would I, as an ambassador of my business and subscribing to our values, which speaks back to your comments around business ethics, have made the same decision, recommendation, or delivered the same quality of service or better? So almost that, is it meeting the threshold of how we do business?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good insight, Johan, and I think you're absolutely accurate. Again, AI, I think one of the mistakes that some businesses make is that they assume AI is what I call an easy button. In other words, it can just simply take over aspects of the business, when in reality, it's a tool that can help amplify what the business is doing well, but it could also amplify what the business is doing poorly. And so I think you're absolutely right, Johan. We need to go in and we need to verify things. We need to do tests like that and determine, okay, would I have made a different decision? Would I have done something different? I love the way you said that, based upon the information I had available and assuming I had the time, would have I made a similar decision? And even if it's not the identical decision, if it's similar and it's still within the company guidelines, then I think we're good to go. But it is absolutely important that we don't just blindly trust AI to take care of things, because it will be sooner rather than later that you're embarrassed by something that AI does if you don't take that time to have some level of validation and quality control there.
Thank you. All right, so let's just quickly look into the future. And what does the future look like with our customer-centric business models? We've got lots of things going on. So as architects and analysts, we often look at what is the operating model? How does the business work? How do we bring multiple elements together, from customers to stakeholders to vendors to, working with heaps and heaps of different stakeholders? So in the future, what do you think customer engagement will look like? Will it be any different to what it is today? And what kind of things could we expect?
I guess I'd probably say my crystal ball is probably cloudy and cracked, but I believe when I look at what we're going to be seeing is we're going to be seeing the expectation that our customers are expecting responses and feedback from us at a far faster rate than what we're used to right now, whether that be from the marketing, whether that be in the sales, whether that be in customer service. They're going to expect almost immediate responses. And I think what we're going to see is we're going to continue to see different AI models integrate with our business. I'm not sure exactly how this will all come together, but that will give that customer the ability to very quickly integrate with the knowledge bases that our company has through an AI agent in order to gather the information that customer is ultimately looking to bring to themselves or to gather in that process to help them solve problems and all that. I think the days of customers being willing to wait in a queue for a period of time in order to get their problem resolved will change, in that many customers, for especially the more rudimentary and practical problems, thinking of customer service, they're going to expect that we have an AI agent that they can deal with immediately. the wait 5 minutes to talk to a human is going to cause frustration. There will still be the need for the humans to be involved and for that actual customer service rep to talk to people. But I think following the old 80-20 rule, probably 80% of those calls that they're currently dealing with today, the customers we have are literally going to expect that they have the ability to work with an AI agent to solve those problems.
That's interesting. And when we're looking at our customer service and customer engagement, you mentioned the knowledge base.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, as architects, we have a particular view of what a knowledge base means. What is your view of a knowledge base that a AI agent would be using to help with customer service?
I think in that case, it's going to involve tremendous amounts of data about the company and how we deal with things, everything from policies and procedures that we have for guidelines on how things are done to simple marketing materials that are available to reference and to answer questions that are being asked about our product, about our service, about what it is that we're doing. So when I think of that knowledge base, I think of something that would probably akin to today being an expansive website that was full of different data points that I could look at. Now that those data points are still going to be there, but we're going to have the ability of AI to look at and combine those things together and analyze those things in a much, much faster perspective. The simple fact, and not that it's directly related, Deirdre, as I think about the ability that I can use AI, for example, to take a 500-page PDF and to carry on a conversation with that without me having to read and digest that PDF is an example of the type of ways that I think we're going to have to provide expansive data sets to these AI agents that, along with rules, of course, that need to be followed as they have access to that allow them to respond and take care of our customers.
So it really does mean we're going to need to have, each business is going to really need to be working on their data, working on their knowledge base, because otherwise the agent's just going to be more generic. It's not going to be very specific to what the business needs and the customer needs to get from that particular business. And I think the data is always a challenge in everything that we do.
Yes.
That hasn't gone away since the invention of computers or human communication. Also one of those trends. All right.
I do think it's going to become even more important, though. I think data, that correct data setup and helping businesses do that's going to become more imperative, not less.
Yes, we would agree with you on that, because the more you look at the data, that you realize AI's only real tool that it needs is data. And so it can do a lot of things, but without the data, it's going to be quite tough to help. But also when we look at architecture and things like that, we look at building knowledge bases, we look at how that would align. So I do think there's a human aspect of designing what that AI experience is, but there's also making sure that you got the right data. And so anyway, that's me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. I will build up on this part, the knowledge base and the building blocks that you already mentioned before. And I'm pretty sure that these concepts are pretty same for the architecture concepts as well. From your perspective, how do you see architecture plays a role in enabling and supporting the customer-centric strategies, especially in the age of AI, of course?
Again, I think when it comes to the data is probably where that's going to fit in more than anything else. Knowing we're going to need professionals that understand how to compile data, how to position data, and how to utilize it in ways that AI is going to be able to use it effectively. AI does some things really well, but it's going to continue to have struggles. So I think that architect position is going to continue to be critical in that process, and probably, from my perspective, going to be a growing field as more and more businesses, as we were just talking with Deirdre, that more businesses are going to need those data architecture services, not fewer. And I think the level of the services they're going to need is going to increase. The good news is there'll be more money for those services because we will be able to minimize costs in some other areas by using AI. And I think those funds then can be moved over into the data side of things.
And do you think that business architects can be included in this cycle, let's say?
I'm not
Business
sure
or
I'm
enterprise?
following.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, I do, because mapping those customer journeys, planning those customer journeys and those interactions is going to become even more and more important, because we're going to need to be able to provide, again, guidelines for the AI to follow and the data then for it to base those decisions on. So again, I think those roles are going to become even more important, because we're not necessarily going to be able to just trust that we'll figure it out as we go along.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
So I just want to open up to our team here. If you have any questions, Ali, Steve, Johan, Julian, if you have any questions, maybe here now's a good time to ask. Jonathan? I do see Johan has said, I agree, AI-ready data has context and is semantically understood. Our biggest problem is data has a lack of unification and an overarching semantic model for understanding. Okay, so you're all good. Everyone's all good. Okay, that's good. I'm glad everyone doesn't have too many questions. I found that some things with the user experience with AI is sometimes too much of a formula, right? So if my view, AI can do things really well, but it's not very creative. So
That's
for
true.
instance, if I write a blog post, I use AI to help me write this blog post because for my own personal reasons, and it's quicker and easier. But often it just goes into this boring, predictable, because it is, it's predicting the words. And so it doesn't give you like a really good vibe. However, there are some differences to this. I must say it's good at jokes, which I find ironic. If you just want to write an article, it has the same thing. It will say in the realm, and as we delve into the future of blah,
yes.
and you can see it's been written by an AI kind of agent, bot, assistant, whatever you want to call it, regardless of what model you're using.
Correct.
So what do you think is going to change about that? Do you think that AI possibly has any form of creativity at all? And how do you see differentiating, let's say, a really good article versus being able to identify, here's the little tweak that you can tell a human has written this article versus an AI written article? How would you do that?
I think it all boils down again to training the AI to write content. I think the other thing that we're going to see changing is there's a lot of people right now that are very concerned whether AI wrote it or didn't write it. I think that's likely to change down the road. What I think the focus is going to move to is the content helpful and valuable. Blog post as an example. Do I want to train it so that it doesn't scream at me that this was written by ChatGPT by having, like you said, too many times it used delve or talked about game changer or things like that? Yes, we absolutely want to do that. And we can train the AI to write in our voice quite effectively to minimize most of that. At the end of the day, though, I think where our audiences are going to is that content that we're creating, is it helpful? Because at the end of the day, if it's helpful, I don't think as the average consumer is going to care where it originated from, as long as it's providing value to them. One of the big issues we have with AI content right now is there's so many people that are simply trying to go, you know what, I've never written a blog post in my life and I'm going to write 1,000 a day now because I can with AI. Probably an exaggeration, but that's happening too much, as opposed to the person that was writing a blog post every week and now says, you know what, maybe I could do 3 this week if I leverage AI, and I could make sure they were all good if I'm collaborating with the model in the process. That's, again, what we talked earlier. It's a difference between collaborating and just handing it off and trusting that the AI is going to do a good job. Anytime we totally hand it off and try to do that, we're going to be met with a level of, I think, disappointment in what's been created, because it is going to be very generic.
Mm. Mm. And I think it's going to be very important. So I 100% agree with you. I think it's going to be very important. And we talk about the role of architects, analysts, customer service agents, whoever it might be, to have a level of authenticity that people can trust and build that reputation. Ensure that if somebody's writing an article, you know that they're always writing the article. Even if AI is helping them write the article, they're still doing a good job of writing that article.
Absolutely.
So that consistency where you're building your reputation as a business so that your clients trust whatever messaging you're giving through. Because as you said, it's terrible when these guys write all of these content and it's just junk. You think to myself, why have I bothered to read this thing? Who wrote this? Cancel, delete, I'm not following this person anymore, that kind of thing. So we have to be very careful, because also customers are fickle as well. One bad thing that could happen, you've lost the customer. So, as much as you want to have speed of access of information to your customers, you can lose them just as quickly at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a balance again. And I think that's one of the good reminders. We need to use AI again to amplify what we already know and the experiences that we already have, not to replace something and not to be that easy button that just gets something done without being focused on quality and authenticity. I think personal brands are going to become even more important as we move forward because of that authenticity that you were just talking about there, Deirdre.
I agree with you. That's so important. People don't actually realize how important that is. Anyway, I want to say thank you very much, Jonathan. So some final from my panel, Alain, any final thoughts for you from Jonathan? Or Jonathan, should I say? You're on mute. Sorry.
Yes. Sorry. I was saying, as was stated actually earlier, I'm not as much of a CX guy, but I found this very interesting and I learned a lot during this talk. Thanks a lot, Jonathan, for your expertise.
Thank you for the great questions.
And Omar, who's the one who came up with the great questions, any final thoughts from your side?
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and thanks everyone for this fruitful discussion. I would consider myself new to the customer experience, but I have understood a lot of concepts today, thanks to Jonathan and all the aspects related to AI, how to implement AI in CX. So thanks so much for this insightful discussion. It was a pleasure meeting you today.
Thank you.
Yes, from myself, thanks, Jonathan, for making the time to meet with the team. Wishing you much success as well. He does have a prompt engineering course, so please do have a squiz at that, and we'll provide the links as well to his content.